the primary purpose of the passage is. So for something like this, we should have a rough idea on our own what the primary purpose of the passage is. The passage talks about the Ninth Amendment, talks about its historical origin, then talks about how conservatives view it, traditionalists, and how liberals view it. Notice that the passage does not reach a conclusion. It does not say that one side or the other side is right. It just says, here's an amendment, and here are a couple perspectives on it. So, now let's look at the answer choices and see which one matches that. Answer choice A, clarify the most proper interpretation of an amendment. Well, that's misleading. It presents two different interpretations, but it doesn't really say this one is right and this one is wrong. So, we can't accept A. B says, argue for a broader perspective on human rights and their legal protection. Well, the passage does talk about legal rights, but it really is very specifically about the Ninth Amendment. It's not about the larger issue of human rights in general. So B is not correct. C, contrast historical perspectives of an amendment to its modern legal reading. Okay, well, that one is promising. We'll go back to this. D, explain the motivations for an amendment and the ambiguity this amendment presents. This is also promising. We'll go back to that. E, demonstrate how the Founding Fathers' intentions may have been distorted by subsequent legal proceedings. Well, distorted, that is a very powerful, loaded word. And that would imply that the passage is making a very strong statement that the Founding Fathers meant this, and then other people did this, and what the other people did was wrong. And the passage is not at all judgmental like that. It's not saying something is wildly wrong. So we're going to reject this. So how do we compare C and D? Well, what's going on? So C, contrast historical perspective to its modern legal reading. Well, the thing that's funny about this is it does tell us a little bit of history, but the big contrast in this passage is not about this is why it was right historically and this is how modern people read it. It's not about historical versus modern. The big contrast is about traditionalist versus conservative, and both of those are modern. So it mentions the historical just to give us a little background, but then the big contrast is between how do modern traditionalists interpret it and how do modern liberals interpret it. Okay? And so contrasting the historical perspectives to its modern legal reading, that doesn't quite capture what's going on, but explain the motivation, so that would be the historical part, and the ambiguity this amendment presents. In other words, liberals interpret it one way, traditionalists interpret it another way. So the fact that it can be interpreted in two different ways means it's ambiguous, and it explores the nature of this ambiguity. So D is really the best answer by far here.